Well, the House Oversight Committee tonight releasing its first report on Operation Gunrunner ahead of tomorrow's hearing. That hearing expected to turn up the heat on the U.S. Justice Department after a U.S. government operation allowed thousands of guns to end up in the hands of Mexican drug cartels. Well, my next guest says the motive behind the botched operation was the administration's support for tougher gun control laws and a UN weapons ban treaty. Larry Pratt is the executive director of Gun Owners for America. Now, Larry, are you saying that this botched ATF operation wasn't really botched at all?
That is exactly right. That's what the whistleblowers have been saying. The official line is that, well, we were running a sting operation and we were going to try to bring down the cartels. Well, it's obviously a falsehood. You can't go into Mexico with a firearm, even if you're a United States federal agent. In fact, one of our agents was killed unarmed deep inside of Mexico. You can't go in without proper paperwork. Unlike here, it's a year in jail if they catch you without your papers. So, no, they were not tracking the guns into Mexico. Obviously, they were letting them go, as the whistleblowers have said, to build support for the president's agenda. And right now, the Congress is resistant. So, clearly they were trying to build a fire, a political fire, that would result in Congress feeling like they're being pushed into some gun control legislation.
Larry, I'm sorry. That is a very strong statement to say that the president and the administration would put lives at risk, American lives at risk, just to push forth their gun control legislation. That's a very strong statement.
For 20-some years, Operation Gunrunner operated. And it was an actual sting, and if somebody was suspected of getting ready to sell a gun to an unqualified person, so-called straw buyer sale, they would stay on that person until the transaction occurred, and then they'd make the arrest. But now what they've been doing is just sending them off on their own. There were stores that called and said, I've got this fellow in here with a sack of money, and he's buying a dozen guns or whatever. There were some cases like that. He shows up okay on the instant background check, but what should we do? Oh, go ahead. That's all right. We're monitoring all this. Well, I think they were monitoring.
Incompetence maybe doesn't equal intent in this particular case, but I understand what you're saying. I do want to talk to you about what's happening with the UN, because I know you're also thinking that this weapons treaty that is on the table at the UN is going to translate into legislation here in this country. And I'm having a hard time connecting the dots. Can you do that for me?
Well, even if our Senate doesn't ratify, there's a process called norming that comes out of the brains of these folks in international law. And after several dozen countries might ratify a treaty, they will refer to that treaty as a norm, an international norm. Mm-hmm. And then the bureaucrats run it up to the UN and start cooperating with them based on that norm. There was a gold mine that was being built outside of Yellowstone Park. It was far enough out that U.S. law permitted that to happen, and they were almost ready to go into operation. And then folks in the Clinton administration went to the UN, got the site declared a World Heritage Site, and that put them out of business because the limit was way beyond what was permitted under that. And we never had signed up for that treaty.
Larry Pratt,
it was a norm.
Thank you, Larry. Gun Owners of America, the executive director. Larry, we certainly appreciate you joining us today.